I'd like to welcome you to the Gainesville End-of-Life Doulas. This is our second Wednesday Zoom meeting that we have every month. Today is August 14th, 2024, and our topic today is planting seeds of peace. So I suppose it's an age-old question, and sometimes it seems quite simple, but sometimes it's challenging. How do we find peace? Here in our human condition, we all would love to be happy all the time. We want liberty and justice for all. We believe in the pursuit of happiness. But as human beings, there are opportunities in life to get through our suffering. I know for myself, many times I've thought, why did this happen to me? It just seems like things are coming at us and it hurts. So I just want us to think a little bit about, what does our happiness depend on? Is it the outside conditions, or is it our inside inner conditions and the way we think? And can we be happy regardless of what's going on around us? Can we avoid being involved with foolishness? And when we feel so much disappointment in the world and in our lives, how do we manage it all? What do we do with it, with all this sorrow? This photo was taken at the Kanapaha Botanical Gardens in the Bamboo Garden. So yeah, what is it that makes us happy? Is it getting more stuff and eating a good meal, drinking a nice glass of wine? Or is it having this attitude of compassion and equanimity and giving each other space and freedom and kindness? Today, we're going to talk about how do we plant good seeds. And when we say seeds, we're talking about our thoughts and our words and our actions. I love this photo of the palace at Disney World. Feel the magic. So first of all, we don't need to just accept what we hear. We can think for ourselves. We have an inner intelligence and an inner voice. And so also, there's no need to build things up or tear them down. Just see things as they are. And I have noticed that my thoughts and how I think about someone can change my whole experience. So I just, the little light inside there, I'd say, carry your own inner light and share it when you can, light up the room, and notice that even in sometimes the mundane things, there is magic. I wanted to pull a few quotes here because these are things that I often think about. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. We've all heard that. And then I realized it was Franklin D. Roosevelt at his inaugural address. That goes back to before I was born. But really, fear is a big inhibitor. It's a real difficult thing. So if we can address our fears, it can be helpful. And then JFK, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And I also think, ask not what your family can do for you, ask what you can do for your family. Makes it a little more relatable. But I remember hearing him say that, watching Walter Cronkite back in the day. And then a little later in the 60s, we had Eldridge Cleaver's comment, which may have come from a different source, but he's credited with saying, you're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. And I was challenged by that because it seemed like, you can't be in both camps. So I always try to think of, how can I be part of the solution? And I love this quote by Shanti Deva. He was teacher in the Buddhist tradition back in the 7th century AD. And he says, all the joy the world contains has come through wishing happiness for others. All the misery the world contains has come through wanting pleasure for oneself. So that's a pretty poignant little piece there. I really like it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the seed system. And I'm sure it's shown up in many corners of our world and throughout time. But basically the idea is this: if you plant a sunflower seed, you're going to get a sunflower. So don't expect to plant a sunflower seed and get a pea or a tomato. And then the second principle is that in the proper environment, a seed will sprout and it will grow. And actually, then it'll put out more seeds. So if you want something to grow, you need to nurture the seed and the seedling and take care of it. And the fourth principle is if you don't plant the seed, you won't get a sunflower. This was my first successful sunflower in my garden. I really enjoyed having that one. So if you take the seed system and you apply it to people, if you plant love and kindness, you will experience love and kindness. If you create a joyful environment, seeds of joy will grow and sprout. If you want to see more kindness in the world, nurture kindness, be kind to others and to yourself. And if you don't take action to remove pain, you won't see a pain-free world, or if you do, you will. So I just want us to think a little bit about, how do we feel when we're just all worried about ourselves? And then how do we feel when we're caring about other people? What makes us feel joy? What makes us feel sad? Just kind of bringing up some of these ideas in our minds. And sometimes I do think that others are the cause of my problems, but I kind of know better. But I do sometimes think that, like, if only they would just do this or not do that. So I put together, recently, I decided that in the morning, I'm going to kind of make a little assessment of what my priorities are. So I kind of broke it down from the world, the whole big world, and then our local area, be that state or county or city, but just Florida. And then what am I devoted to? Devotion's an important thing to think about. Also relationships and then self. So I've broken them down in some slides here. This is the 9/11 memorial in New York City. I visited, took this picture. So for the world, like, is there some wide collaboration? Is there some contribution that I can make from my little corner of the world? Is there someone I need to donate to or make an effort on? Where am I going to put my energy? Do I want to share information or receive information about something? And just thinking broadly. And then for the local area, who are the people in my neighborhood? Thinking of who's important to me and who can I help? And these puppies are my sister's puppies down in Jamaica. That was a really cute picture. So who am I devoted to? Are there animals that need homes or help or food? Is there something that will heal body, heart, and mind? Do I have a cause? Do I want to help visit people in a nursing home, provide food for the homeless, gather in a sacred circle? Am I devoted to a teacher, someone who gave to me and I want to give back to them? And our relationships, how are we caring for each other? Are we just out here on our own, or are we actually in a community? Who is my extended family? If I don't have blood family, who are the people who are important to me? Reaching out, is it your minister? Do you have a lama or a teacher? And it can be even just remembering someone who's died and what they have taught you. It doesn't have to be someone who's here. And then taking care of ourselves. Am I taking care of my basic needs, my body? Am I exercising enough? How's my mind working? Am I staying positive? Do I get enough quiet time and meditation? Am I thinking about my priorities, and how can I improve my relationship with maybe a partner where I just started to take them for granted and I need to revisit that? How can I serve others and myself? What makes me happy? And then this is just our closing. Oh yeah, I took this picture recently, this beautiful butterfly. But yes, every second Wednesday we meet at this time. And this is co-sponsored by Elder Care of Alachua County and Gainesville End-of-Life Doulas. And if you want more information, you can email me at goodgriefwoman@gmail.com. And that's it for now.
I was hoping to hear more about how your end-of-life doulas work and what they do and how they function.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I think this topic kind of, for me, it fits in because I do the grief work. But yeah, so do you have a specific question? Anything?
Well, how is it organized? Do you
Yeah.
actually have people that are available, but do people then call you and say, I need somebody to help me die, or what? Help me, I'm in the
Right.
process of dying.
Right. Well, if you're really in the active process, it's still possible to help, but it's getting on the late side. Yeah, so doulas, we have such a wide variety. It's like you could say, well, what do nurses do, right? Oh,
Well,
how many kinds of nurses are there's, dialysis, there's hospice, there's pediatric oncology, ICU, some of them might fly in the helicopters, to emergencies. I don't know. There's just so many areas. So you can look at the Fielda website and you'll see a lot of that information there. But say planning, do you have your papers in order? What are they? What do they say? Have you looked at them in the last little while? Do they need to be updated? Or is there someone who's in your family who you say is your healthcare surrogate, but they actually don't really know what you want? So some of it is just having the conversation. So a
they
lot of
don't
what we
do
do.
personal care.
Yes. No, I'm just touching on one topic. Oh, absolutely. We do non-medical personal care.
Okay.
Mhm. So yeah, so some do bedside vigil. Ideally, a person would go in and meet. You create the relationship as early as you even start thinking about it, or like you want to. I mean, not necessarily if it's 20 years, but you want to have a relationship that can build in a comfortable, relaxed way. So that you're not like. I mean, I have had calls from someone who was on their deathbed and they didn't, so I went to the house one time and I met with the wife and that was it. I mean, we didn't really, it was very hectic, very chaotic. Mm. So some, a lot of it is education. Some people are more like actively in there with the dying process. Others, myself, I like to help people have their own, um, understanding of what they need to do. So I'd rather, teach them how to fish than hand them fish and be there with them, holding their hand all the time, So I'd rather help them figure out what they need to learn and know. But if there's someone who's alone and they need someone with them, some doulas, like there was one job I had that was like, they paid me $25 an hour to go 6 hours a day, 5 days a week for 2 weeks because the daughter was away and her mother needed somebody to be with her. So it didn't involve like CNA work, like personal diaper cleaning and stuff like that. It was just companion. And in that time with her, I found out a lot about her and what she wanted for her memorial. And, we really had good conversations about it. So some people might be happy to work in that way, but also as the time gets closer, then they're available for the dying process. And it changes if there's dementia, just helping.
You need somebody to be with them. Yeah.
Need somebody to be with them. And also, well, who are our friends? And a lot of times with grief and death, people disappear. Has anyone noticed that? I hear
They
people
can't
say,
deal with it. Well, they
I
can't
hear
deal
it
with it.
a lot. Yeah. Oh, I thought she was my friend. she's gone. She won't answer my call even. And it's even more disappointing because you're already hurting so much and you just, yeah. So it's important that we keep talking, keep the conversation going. So that, to avoid the isolation and the utter pain of being abandoned or, yeah. So if you're in a situation where you would want to consider a live-in, that's what I would want to do, because I think, although, I mean, it's wonderful to have a whole community around you in a dining room and recreation room and people and such, but those things are expensive. And we also have a 3-bedroom house, and I'm thinking, well, if he's gone and I'm here, I'll just have somebody move in. And that's tricky. You gotta I
It
don't
is,
have a
because you
referral
have to find
service.
the right person.
If you do, and you might. So yeah. So I don't know, maybe the seed planting idea sort of fits in here, because you have if I believe that if you have a good intention and attention, you know what you want, and you put it out there, and you're actually, if you want good things to happen and you're doing good too, it's definitely, more likely, I think, to come together. So trying
This
to
is
tie
my
the topic
comforter.
in. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yes,
Yay,
on my lap.
beautiful. Yes. So,
Nobody else has unplugged their mute.
nope, they're mute. Oh, Liz, there's Liz.
You're right. I said something and it didn't come out. What is the kitty's name?
Oh, Misty.
Misty.
Missy.
And so I think I heard you say earlier that you are child-free.
Yes.
Well, you and I are both one of those childless cat ladies.
I have a dog too.
Okay, well, right now I don't have either one, but I'm decidedly a cat person, and Misty looks adorable. So thank you for sharing.
We have 2 among us. Wow, that's amazing.
They're my comforters.
Oh yeah, it's lovely. Yes. Thanks for bringing some humor in there with us, Liz. We need it right now, don't we?
Yes.
Well, and that's one of the major things that I'm still dealing with, is the loss of the last cat that I had.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that I still look for her. She's been gone
Mhm.
since November, but it's been really
hard,
hard.
yeah.
I'm going to be out of the country for a couple of months, and so I don't want to adopt another one until I come
Oh,
back.
yeah.
That would
Where are
just
you
not.
going?
I'm going to visit family in Australia.
How nice. Can I come?
Love to have a traveling companion. Nobody wants to go for 3 months though.
Oh,
Yeah, so pets is really big deal, and people like, oh, it's just a cat. Can you just like move on? That's your companion. The thing about pets is their love's not conditional. They're not like gonna argue with you.
right.
They just look to you. They just snuggle up, and
Last
it's
week I had a
super
crying
important.
Last week I had a crying spell, and my dog came up, sat with me on the couch, and licked my tears.
Beautiful. That is so sweet. Yeah.
But he's
Yeah.
a mess sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, with my mom, I had a live-in caregiver for a very short time. It did not go well. And I must have been too hasty trying to find her. Oh, there's Puppy. But I had to tell her to meet me at Starbucks and just fire her on the spot because of some of the things that were going on. So yeah, but then again, if you have time and you're in a community and you can just keep looking around and feeling it out and finding people, I think it's really a good, sensible alternative.
I think your analogy with the seeds is very apt, because I mean, we all know here, that not every seed we plant is going to grow successfully. And it could be because the seed is defective. It could be because the environment is not the appropriate one for that particular seed. And it could be that we're not nurturing that particular seed in the way it wants it to be nurtured. I think sometimes, especially if it's a human seed, like you're referring to, we take that on as it's my fault. I fudged up. I did it wrong. When in fact, it was just a combination of things that didn't lend the seed the ability to grow and flourish in that environment and setting.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's really wise. So you're almost saying like sometimes we just think, oh, I messed up, but there are other factors in situations.
We have to give ourselves some grace and say, okay, yeah, maybe it was me. Maybe my choices were what made the conditions impossible for this seed to grow. But it's not, like the end of the world. There are more seeds out there. You could try again. And you
That's
shouldn't
right.
take on like, this is a failure. It's my failure. I can never do this right. Depends on the
Well, that's right. And so I found that when I have an experience that doesn't work out so well, I have to look back and think, well, okay, for example, I had, I've had a difficulty with a certain person, but I mean, they're having their own difficulty and I have my challenges. But if someone does something that is like, oh my God, they interrupted me, just a small example, they just keep interrupting me. They don't let me say what I want to say. I have to look back and I tend to think, well, did I ever interrupt someone? Rather than, oh, they're just an interrupter. Heck, get away from that, right? Did I ever interrupt someone? And if so, let me review that and let me think about, that wasn't so wise, or maybe it wasn't a good idea. And so that's not something I want to do again. Let me listen better and then make a decision. Oh, I'm just going to avoid interrupting people. Doesn't mean I'm going to be perfect and never do it, but at least if I have that awareness, then I will stop and think about it and try not to do it. And I might say, well, just for the next 2 hours, I'm not going to interrupt anyone. Well, that's easy because there's nobody here with me. So then, okay, no, 2 hours from when I'm with someone or around people, then I won't do it. So if I say I will never interrupt anyone again, then I'm setting myself up for failure, right? And so what we try to look at then is the antidote. What's the antidote to interruption? It's extended, compassionate listening. And so I think, well, that's a good idea. Let me practice that. And so it kind of ties into different parts of our lives. Like I've had so many frustrations with, my kids and my ex and who knows, all kinds of people, my sister. And I always thought it was them. And that became a conflict because they're like, well, look at yourself. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess I better. So anyway, does anybody else, it's kind of one of my favorite topics, which is why I picked it for today, but this conversation can go anywhere people want it to go. So anyone else who's been quiet?
Well, they have
Yeah,
go ahead, Jackie.
Jackie.
okay. I like the title and the overarching concept with seeds of peace, so to speak. Always searching. Sometimes those moments are few and far between during, when you're in a grief mode, kind of. So how to, integrate that is always, I think, something that becomes a challenge. Certainly it has been for me, but that doesn't mean that we should stop trying. So that's why I keep pushing forward, So
Do you
anyway.
have any example of a challenge you've had or anything, you'd feel comfortable sharing, knowing, well, we are being recorded, but I can also pause if you wish.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
My late husband used to collect, he collected silver dollars and the different kinds of those over the years. And that goes back, 50 plus years. And I'm downsizing and searching for ways to reduce things that are occupying space in my home. And I came across those the other day, where they've been tucked away. So I finally parted with them. I had a coin specialist look at them first, and then I took the rest of them to the bank, to exchange it for paper money. And then when I got out of my car, I cried.
Yeah. Sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's hard.
So
Yeah.
it's difficult.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because those just aren't little coins. They're like a whole story in them. That a whole chunk of your life and of him.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
So you can go along for quite a while, and then all of a sudden something will tip you off.
That's
Sure.
right.
So, but I mean, they were important to him. So,
Well,
that was
thank you.
just an incident, but I mean, he's been gone quite a while now, but
Mhm.
brings back the memories of the little dish that he kept and tossed them in when he came home from work.
Wow, that's so poignant, Jackie. Thank you for sharing that. Did anyone else feel like the heart just throb? Like,
Yeah.
such a beautiful example. Yeah. So did you feel like, okay, so you wanted to clear your space and you did something that was for you. Did you resolve it? I mean, do you feel okay that you did
I
change
do,
them? Yeah.
I do.
Mhm. Good.
It's time. So, but time is different for everybody.
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
It's okay. It's another chapter in the memoir I'm writing.
Oh, you're writing a memoir too? Oh,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's cool. Because I was going to suggest, well, you can write about that, and you've already got that
Oh,
going on.
I do write. I write a lot, so yes, I do write about those things, but
Mhm.
That was one of my goals as I aged, that I wanted to leave a testimony of how God really helped me through my life and provided for me and led me in very different directions. And now that I've finished it, I have had journals that I had written all through my life. So that helped a lot to write the memoirs. And then I took out the albums and got pictures to put in the book.
Oh,
All of that stuff, I haven't put it away because I just published it in January, so it's still new. But I just have a hard time putting them back in the albums and figure out what to do with it all. Because now that I've written it, should I keep it? Should I throw it away? It's difficult to know.
Mm.
And I just can't make a decision. So it's just laying out, and my house is a mess.
Okay. It's just kind of suspended there, and maybe it's a beautiful mess.
Elsie, have you investigated that there might be some places that would be interested in having those things as part of an archive or a library?
Some
mean,
of it is too
there is-
personal.
It's too
Some of
personal.
it is too personal. I wouldn't want to do that necessarily.
Understood.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But
There is the School of Midwifery here. I don't know if, there's any things that would be of interest to them that would not be so personal to you that maybe.
Yeah, I was director of the School of Midwifery in Kentucky, Frontier Nursing School of
Mhm.
Midwifery and Family Nursing. And
Mhm.
they have, I graduated from there in 1963. So they have put, in the alumni news, they have advertised my book.
Nice.
Mhm.
I don't know that they would want to have
Mhm.
all of that.
A book is a handy way to have all that without having it separate items. But yeah, so no, it's just sweet to be able to share what's important to us, and yeah. So
One thing that I think your presentation about seeds of peace that you might consider adding to it is the spiritual aspect.
Mhm.
Those of us who have a relationship with God or in a church, that can
Mhm.
be very supportive and helpful in the
Mhm.
time of grief.
Yeah, I think I sort of touched on it without saying it in terms of devotion. Who are you devoted to? Because
Yeah.
some have a church, but some maybe have an animal sanctuary, or you
Mhm.
know. So,
Yeah,
but
I
then if I
noticed you had
include,
sacred, you used the word sacred, but you really didn't go into detail about what
Mhm.
that would mean. And to me, that was the primary way that I coped with my husband's death,
Yeah,
my sister's death.
right, right.
So,
So a spiritual community.
mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Good feedback. Thank you. Mhm. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I can share a little story of let's see. Oh, it's about getting there. A couple more minutes, but just a little story about my seeds, because I was in a very difficult relationship for a time, and I younger then, of course. I wish when you had kids you were older. You learn a little more about how to take care of them well. That's what I think. But um I had hatred and such anger towards this person, and it was eating away at me. It was really hurting me a lot. And over the years, it took me a long time to just let go of that, wishing him ill. And I realized that when I had ill will for someone, that I was making myself ill. It made me feel sick physically, mentally.
Unforgiveness is the
Yeah,
takes
yeah.
away
And
it.
and I never tell people, oh, you should forgive, because that may come or it may not, and it's okay if it does or it doesn't. So, but for me, it was a very hard, long, hard road out of trauma and abuse over time. And so, yeah, so I eventually decided, though, that it was better not to hate him and not to wish he was dead, and things like that. Um, and just to not sort of excuse it, but to say, what was my part in that? Because there were two people there. And the victim says, this person's hurting me. But how did I participate? So I had to start with a little bit of wisdom in me. I had to start looking at, oh, okay, I did this and I did this, sort of like the process of making amends or confession or whatever you want to say. And it's good to have someone that you can talk honestly with, who's not going to jump all over you or judge or criticize you, to review our misdeeds. But I used to be the all high and mighty one, and think that I didn't have misdeeds, and I was wrong, so it was causing problems. And so eventually I was able to actually be friendly towards this person, and not only that, actually help them a little bit with a few things, and just set aside those caustic, toxic emotions, and say, okay, what would happen if I just planted some good seeds and wish them well?
Mhm.
Because those negative emotions towards someone would keep them stuck and keep me stuck in a bad cycle. And also, I also came to realize that even the most notorious people could change. I don't expect it, but they could. They could wake up tomorrow and say, I've had enough. They could have someone die that was important to them, or somebody said just the right thing with compassion to make their heart open. They could change, because we can change. All of us can. No one's excluded from the ability to, evolve and change their ways and their thinking. So, yeah. So anyway, I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope it's been useful. And I appreciate, Elsie, you asking about the doulas. I always love to talk about the doulas as well, and just kind of seeing where it goes with us here today.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to thank everyone for being here today, and it's been a really fruitful time, and we appreciate everyone. And just remember to come back second Wednesday of September, and we'll do it again. Thanks.